everybody, I'm Chris Massey, and welcome to the Chris Massey Show here on the American Hearts Radio Network. We're coming to you live tonight from our studio here in downtown Atlanta. And tonight is episode 18 of season 2 and the 35th episode of the Chris Massey Music Show. Starting this month, we're only going to be coming to you once a month through February. And then in March, we hope to crank it up with 2 episodes a month. Again, I appreciate everybody watching. I really do. Now, Al, did you get a chance the other night to watch the Democratic debate?
No, I missed that one.
You missed it. Oh, Al, how could you do that?
Party time.
Well, I guess so. Anyway, Hillary Clinton looked, in my opinion, very strong, very confident. She was very acknowledgeable. She looked healthy, and she seemed to be quite presidential. And this was not the performance that the Republicans were looking for. They were also not looking for would-be Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, to come out and say that the Republicans are basically on a witch hunt after Hillary with the Benghazi inquiries and the email scandal. That is not what they wanted to hear. So if you're a Republican today, you really don't have a whole lot to smile about. Hillary's numbers are going up, and the Republicans lost a lot of credibility with the remarks that Kevin McCarthy made, and Donald Trump is still out front in the polls for the Republicans. How long can this go on? I'll tell you what. So I'm going to go on the record right now and say that if Hillary is not indicted over the emails and there's no wrongdoing found in the Benghazi inquiries, I think she's going to win the nomination going away, and she's going to be tough to beat in November of 2016. Now, in other news, Al, did you see this, that out in California, this guy ran his car into the back of a minivan, and when the police got there, they discovered that this gentleman had been watching pornography on his telephone while he was driving.
Now we're talking.
Did you see that? I mean, and apparently this is a big problem with men in America. According to a latest survey, if you are sitting in gridlock traffic on the freeway, 35 to 40% of all men are passing the time in this traffic jam by watching pornography on their telephone. Can you believe that?
You gotta love it, man.
Now, I mean, look, guys think about sex all the time. That's what we do. That's what makes us different from women. They think about shopping. And it's just as bad for a woman when she sees a 2-for-1 sale at a shoe store to pass it up as it is for a guy. Anytime he can pick up this device, just press a couple of buttons, and boom, someone's banging a good-looking woman for him to see right there on the screen. So, excuse me here. That is correct. That's correct. So the question, it raises this question. If men are watching pornography while they're in their automobiles, where else are they watching it? I mean, everywhere you go, you see somebody looking down at the phone like this. Is it possible that they're watching it in line at the grocery store, or at the doctor's office, or in line at the bank, or at the drive-thru window at McDonald's? Or dare should I say it? That's right, even in church. That's right, I said it. Somebody somewhere is watching pornography on their phone in church. You can guarantee it. Now, I know a lot of you out there saying, Chris, there is no way that the disciples would have been watching pornography while they were in church. Well, you're going to have a hard time making that argument stick because, look, there weren't any cell phones back then. So you don't know, do you? Just like you don't know where you're going to go when you die, you just think that you do. So the question now is this. Is it bad because he was watching pornography, or is it bad because he was watching something on his screen? I mean, what if he was watching Fox News when he crashed into this woman, or ESPN, or even the 700 Club? Well, believe it or not, liberal Chris Massey here thinks that it's worse if you're watching pornography on your phone when you're driving. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're texting or you're looking at maps or watching ESPN on your phone, your eyes are not on the road. But if you're watching pornography, not only are your eyes not on the road, there's a good chance you ain't got 2 hands on the wheel. All right, we have got a great show tonight. From the Georgia Satellites, Rick Richards is here. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a great night out? Are you in the Atlanta, Georgia area? Are you looking to check out some live, awesome music during the week? They have keynote, poker tournaments, horseshoes, and special events. It's all at the Moon Shadow Tavern. That's at 3976 Lawrenceville Highway in Tucker, Georgia. That's the Moon Shadow Tavern. Give them a call, 770-674-2133. Check out their selection of great food, friendly service. Visit their website at msttucker.com. That's www.msttucker.com. Moon Shadow Tavern is a proud sponsor of the Chris Massey Web TV music show on www.americanheartsradio.com. Make sure you told them that American Hearts Radio sent you. Visit their website, check out their great selection of food, appetizers, wings, burgers, sandwiches and wraps, steaks and chicken, salads and sides. Also their drink specials. Live music during the week. Check them out. Give them a call, 770-674-2133.
All right, you were watching the video of the Georgia Satellites with Battleship Chains, one of their hits from their debut album, the Georgia Satellites. Now, before I bring our guest up, I want to mention that Betty from Hoover, Alabama, Al, has been contacting me. For those of you that watch the show know that Betty in Hoover, Alabama is a big fan of the show. She calls in frequently and tells me that I'm going to go to hell. And she's always praying for me, and Betty, I really do appreciate it. And recently I've had some good fortune happen in my life, and I was thinking that it may be because of Betty, maybe because Betty's praying for me. So I decided to do something nice for Betty. And Betty, what I have here is a poster of the Chris Massey Band from 2014 when we were on our tour across America. And this is me and the boys at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California. And there you see Daniel Glozier, myself, and David Faulkner on the bass, and Mark Krause on the drums. And I'm going to autograph this, Betty, and I'm going to send it to you. And you be sure to share it with all the women at the prayer group there at the Holier Than Thou Baptist Church in Hoover, Alabama. Betty, God bless you. Okay. All right. My guest tonight needs no introduction. For the past 35 years, he has been regarded as one of the best guitar players in Atlanta and one of the best guitar players to ever come out of Atlanta. In 1986, he and the rest of the Georgia Satellites signed on the dotted line with Elektra Records, and their debut album, The Georgia Satellites, was released, and the album was a big smash. The single, Keep Your Hands to Yourself, made it all the way to number 2 on the Billboard singles charts, and the album made its way into the top 10. Since then, his signature sound of a Les Paul Jr. screaming through a Marshall amp has been entertaining crowds all over the globe. Would you please welcome to the Chris Massey Music Show the one and only Mr. Rick Richards. I got a cowboy.
I was watching on the drive over. And
yeah, very good.
How are you?
Good to see you, Rick.
Good to see you.
Well, Rick, thanks so much for being on the show. And
pleasure.
I've got to tell you, in the words of Mike Meyer from Wayne's World, I must tell you that I am not worthy to have you here tonight. It is a big thrill for me and a big thrill for the network to get you in here.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. All right. So, Rick, I know you are a native Georgian.
Yes, I am.
Is that correct? And where exactly are you from?
I'm from Jasper, Georgia.
Jasper, Georgia.
Hub of Western civilization. And so my father was in the service, so I moved around quite a bit.
Okay. All right. And I know that you wound up going to high school at Sprayberry High School because the guy that plays bass with me, David Faulkner. David, how you doing tonight? He played in bands with you when you guys were young.
David and I were in several bands together, and we traveled in his Dodge van.
Yes,
sleeping on the PA in the back.
Yeah, he's told me some stories about some of those road trips you guys had. Now, eventually, this led to playing in the underground Atlanta circuit down there, which was a very popular place for rock musicians to play at that time. I know Keith Christopher played down there, Brendan O'Brien played down there, and you as well. And this led to you being in other bands like Raggedy Ann. Yeah. Well, and you guys really did quite a bit of stuff in Raggedy Ann, did you not?
Yeah, we were together for, I don't know, a couple of years.
Okay.
Some guys from Philadelphia and South Jersey, Don Train and Snit Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Dave Ridrick, a friend of the show, was on, and he was telling me you guys did a show over at the Birmingham Auditorium
Dave
one
was
time.
in the band as well. Yeah, from
okay.
Riggs, yeah.
All right, and then you went to a band called the Desperate Angels, and this is the first time that I heard about Rick Richards. In 1980, I had just started playing clubs in Atlanta, and there was this cat that wrote for the Creative Loafing, Russell Shaw. And Russell always had some good things to say about you and about the Desperate Angels. And yeah, that was a really good band. You guys had Tommy Rivers, Keith Christopher, Freddie Griffith. And about the time the Desperate Angels split, the Samurai Catfish splits, and you and Keith hook up with Mark and Brendan, and you guys have another band. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. Samurai Catfish, we did a couple of gigs. It was just great fun. Greg Simonton was the singer, brilliant songwriter, great entertainer.
Singer. Yeah, absolutely.
Hilarious
Yeah, he
guy.
was my hero, absolutely.
Yeah, he was incredibly hilarious too. So
yeah,
we had a great time in that band.
And then you guys had the Famous Unknowns.
Famous Unknowns with Krause, yeah.
Yep.
And Keith, me and Brendan, yeah. That's where I wrote a couple of the Satellites tunes came from that.
Right.
Famous Unknowns
Okay.
era, so.
Yeah, I remember seeing you guys play, and you guys had a tune called "It's a Dirty Town."
Yes, right.
I remember hearing you guys play.
That
was one of, and you did a Catfish song or two in the set that I saw you with. Now about this time though, some things happened with the Famous Unknowns. I've heard varying stories. David Michelson had a very detailed story about what happened, and Keith Christopher couldn't remember, but he said David's story sounded reasonable, so we would go with that.
Okay, good.
But
I'll buy that because I don't remember either.
Well, David seems pretty detail oriented about the history of the band. So if you guys ever write a book, you might want to consult David on that. But anyway, I look in the paper and I see this band Keith and the Satellites that you guys have now. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in the early '80s in Atlanta, in the music scene, having a kick-ass rock and roll band wasn't really something that everybody was doing.
Yeah, that's true. That whole era back then was a bit iffy as far as rock and roll went, especially what we were doing. We were kind of just, we discovered bands like NRBQ and the Burnett Trio, and we were big into the older country music scene too. Right. And taking those old country songs and jazzing them up and
right, all those great George Jones tunes you guys did.
Giving them a signature rock and roll sound. Rock Pile was a big influence.
Right.
And there really weren't that many bands around town doing that. Fortunately, we found a place to do it, a club called Hedgens. And,
yes, sir.
That's where we started every Monday night, and got a pretty good following, and got some interest out of that, And then after that, split up. Right. And then
you had the Hellhounds. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite bands there. I remember a guy calls me up one night. He said, "Hey man, we're going down to the Great Buckhead Saloon. Rick's got this new band called the Hellhounds." Yeah. And I went down there and saw you guys, and you just rocked my socks off, man. It was a little more The Hellhounds were a little more full throttle than the Satellites, I thought, you know.
It was three-piece, so it had to make a lot more noise, you know,
right.
on the guitar. You had to even more noise than I made in the Satellites. You know. It had to be in tune a little bit more, so you know you could hear things a little bit better with the three-piece.
But at that time, you know, you had the swimming pool cues and the Roys and the Heathen Girls and of course Baby and the Pacifiers.
Yeah, sure.
They were one of the biggest bands, and we had you guys, and then Tinsley was doing his thing with the Heart Fixers.
Yeah, sure.
And it was almost like there was one blues band, one rock band, and everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's kind of the way that it was shaping up.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
And I've told people this before. I have never seen a band in Atlanta that could play 7 nights a week, and I don't care where you guys played, you drew a crowd.
Yeah.
You guys were drawing more people on Monday night than some of these clubs were drawing with good bands on the weekends.
Yeah, it was kind of a phenomenon. You know,
It was.
I don't know why it happened, to tell you the truth, except there were a lot of slackers in Buckhead at that time. They didn't have anything to do on Monday night. Obviously, they didn't have a job, so they have to get up and go to work.
That's right.
They'd come and stay till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I guess go back to their.
Yeah, it started off on Monday night, and then you'd see Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, and then it would be all week, the Satellites, Monday through Saturday. You know, and you guys did weeks there and at the Harvest Moon Saloon. And, you know, one of my favorite nights back in those days was when you and the Roys used to do those shows over at the Moonshadow.
Yeah, right.
So, and those were some really fun nights to get out at
another great Atlanta band.
Yeah, absolutely, and see some good music then. Now, you guys were the biggest band in town. Now, did you guys know that when that was going on? I mean, did y'all realize that you guys were the stuff. Did you know that at that time?
We were kind of oblivious to everything that happened outside that little club.
Right.
I mean, that was kind of our, you know.
But you had to recognize that this stuff didn't happen with Raggedy Ann and the Desperate Angels and the Famous Unknowns like it did with the Satellites.
That's true, yeah. I think I had a lot to do with just timing and just very fortuitous, you know, just being at the right place at the right, you know, this is the old hackneyed thing about a lot of bands, the right place, right time, luck and all that. There's a lot of factors involved. Not saying we were any better than any of the bands in town. As a matter of fact, we were, on any given night, we could be the worst band in town. And be quite proud of it, you know.
Well, yeah, you guys weren't getting cheated as far as having a good time. That was for sure.
That was number one on the agenda, you know. Just walk in and have a good time, and that kind of relates to the crowd. When you're having a good time, and you know, you have
people feed off of it. They do
feed off.
They do feed off of it.
So we ruined a lot of people's lives. It's good.
Now, you guys. Kevin Jennings told me he was on the show, and he said that they had some labels come down and take a look at you guys, and everybody kind of passed in the beginning. Is that right?
Everybody did pass. Yeah, they did.
And you just
very quickly.
People may think that Keep Your Hands to Yourself, by the time it made its way to the radio, was an old song. You guys have been playing it quite a number of years, right?
Yeah, we'd cut that down at Access about it. You know, I would say a good year and a half before it, or maybe 2 years before it ever. You know, got on vinyl.
But you had versions of it before then. It seems like I was out at Bombay Studios at Joe Perry's one time, and he played us a tape that you guys had cut out there early on.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Brendan was playing piano on some of the tracks out there and everything.
Yeah, that was another great studio.
Oh, yeah. And Joe, if you're watching, we're getting you on the show.
Come on, Joe.
We'll send a checkered cab to pick you up, take you to the drive-thru of your choice, and get you here. Nothing but the best. All right. Okay, so you guys break up. And it's well documented, if you're a Satellite fan, that Kevin Jennings took the tapes over to England, and got somebody to pick it up over there, and they pressed the album Keep the Faith. Yeah. And it came out, and all of a sudden now everybody is interested, and you guys get a deal with Elektra Records.
Yeah. Previous to that, I was during our breakup hiatus, I was at a bookstore at a Peachtree Battle, and I was looking at NME, and Melody Maker, the British rock rags,
right.
You know, and there was this glowing review of the Satellites.
Wow, and you came across it by accident.
Yeah, and
wow,
you know, the British press are notorious for not liking anything, especially American. You know,
right?
But this was just a rave review,
right?
And I'm sitting there looking around, and I want to show somebody, and so I show this lady, and she goes, "Never heard of you." Said, okay, so. That was that. But that's how I found out about how we'd become somewhat of the flavor of the month over there, and that man, but that meant a lot to me seeing Melody Mix. I
Well,
read those magazines growing up, and it was great.
And you guys were kind of like, if you ask people, when Hank Aaron hit 715, if everybody was there that said they was there, there'd have been 1 million people there that night. And once you got big, it was the same thing with Hedges. Oh, I used to see him at Hedges.
Yeah.
And most of these people didn't even know where Hedges was. And if they saw the place, they probably wouldn't even went inside.
Oh, absolutely not. No. Not without an STD shot.
So you guys get the record deal, and they release "Keep Your Hands to Yourself" as a single. Now, what kind of expectations did the band have, and what was the record company telling you as far as what their plan was for promoting you guys?
Well, we had 2 great A&R guys. The guys that were in charge of us, Kevin Patrick and Howard Thompson, were just stellar cats. Really coming from a British invasion background,
right?
And very into rock and roll that we were doing. So they would keep us abreast of what was going on. We really didn't have a battle plan until some radio stations out in Texas and Colorado picked up on the song, and then it started going up the charts. So they would come in and tell us, "Man, your song is like number so and so." And we go, "Oh, that's great." And I go, "No, it is great." But we were kind of oblivious to it because we were kind of naive about chart positions at that time.
Right.
We had no idea that it would get anywhere near the charts.
Right.
So it was pretty amazing that happened, and it was just again timing and
right.
there was a void that we kind of filled.
Because by the time you guys came along in the mid-'80s, music had kind of shifted a little bit. In the early '80s, it was Flock of Seagulls and The Fix and Human League and bands like that. But by the time you guys came along, Stevie Ray had already got out there and started making the Fabulous Thunderbirds had a be album, and George Thorogood also had started making some noise.
And there was Jason the Scorchers, kind of unsung at that time, but
Sure.
they were really like we were neck and neck as far
That's
as
right.
Influences and such went.
So you guys get you do a tour with Bob Seger,
Yeah.
and I did a tour with Tom Petty, and you guys went all over the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a video clip of you guys on a show in Japan.
Yeah.
That you guys were on, and Dan's telling the guy that kind of reminds him of Georgia. They got azaleas over here, or something like that. I remember seeing something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Clampets go to Tokyo kind of thing. Like, hey, what's going on over here?
Now you guys were on Solid Gold.
Yeah, with Marilyn McCoo.
Yeah, you were on American.
We danced some early pinch.
You were on American Bandstand.
Yeah, with Dick Clark. Yeah.
Now, growing up when you did, Rick,
and he cursed. Which I thought was nice.
Growing up
Dick
when
Clark
you did,
cursed.
Rick, you're about 10 years older than me. I know you on Saturdays you were watching American Bandstand as a kid, man.
Religiously,
and to be on there, that just had to be a huge thrill.
It was a trip. Yeah, and like I said, Dick Clark was pretty down to earth. And, being in his presence was really cool. It was great, man.
Now, did y'all play live on there, or was that a lip sync thing?
Lip sync.
Lip sync?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you also played the 1986 MTV New Year's Eve Ball, and this was really when America got to see what the satellites were all about. What we all knew at Hedgens in Atlanta, you guys were on the big stage on national TV, and you did not disappoint that night. You guys were great.
Back when MTV actually played music.
That's right.
Remember
That's
that?
right. That's
yeah,
right.
That was kind of cool there.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, another great benchmark moment for me was playing the Marquee Club in London.
Oh, wow.
Because growing up, really digging the British scene like I did, and hearing about the Marquee and the history of it, when I was there, that's when I figured things were going good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
That was great.
Now, I got to ask you a question here, Rick, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, because I've had several people that saw you were going to be on the show, and I've had people say, oh, you got to ask him this, you got to ask him this, you got to ask him that. So, the Keep the Faith album, okay, in my opinion, and all the satellite records were good, but in my opinion, the best record you guys ever did was the Keep the Faith record.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
Six songs, all just in your face, all excellent. Was it a band decision, or was it a corporate decision to not include all those songs on the first record?
I would say a little bit of both, because we had new material at that time.
And I know how new material is. I mean, new material, when you've been playing those songs for a long time, you really got an itching to want to get it out there,
And like I said, the A&R guys from Electro were encouraging us to do different stuff and write more, Dan to write more, and me to write when I could. And So yeah, it was a mutual decision.
Okay. Now 6 years gone and Driving Me Crazy both made it to the third record.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe that they get on there.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, one of my favorite Satellite songs was "Tell My Fortune," and I never did. You guys never did do that on one of the big discs. I don't think.
No, that's true.
No.
We've been incorporating that live recently.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was.
Pulled it out. And,
yeah, that was a Satellite favorite among many.
Oh, thanks, man.
So 3 albums go by, and you guys had a great run, and things kind of go away there, and you wind up
As they do.
As they do. That's right. You wind up getting a gig with Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, with old Izzy Stradlin.
Now, how does this happen? Are you like sitting at home watching TV and the phone rings and it's, "Hey Rick, this is Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses. You want to play in my band?" Or how'd that come about?
No.
I didn't think so, but I just had to ask.
I mean, Izzy was working with Jimmy Ashurst, who was in a band called the Broken Homes, who we took on tour with us because we were such real big fans of the Broken Homes.
Okay.
And their label wasn't doing much for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, well, we'll take you out with us, and maybe you can get some exposure, and maybe it'll help your album sales and all that. So
Okay.
it did. And that was history. So when Jimmy got with Izzy, they were looking for a guitarist, so Jimmy calls me. And that's how that came about.
Wow. Okay.
And we had the record that Nicky Hopkins was on it, Ronnie Wood's on it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Stan Lynch was on it for a bit. Of course, it was during the riots in L.A., so Stan had to leave because
Right.
he was afraid he was getting a little too close to the studio. So we got Charlo Quintana from Bob Dylan's band to play drums. Fantastic outfit, and we had a blast, man. We toured the world, and I still work with Izzy.
Okay.
Still do. He's done a lot of.
And he was
solo
coming
stuff.
off being in the biggest band of the world, in the world that time, Guns N' Roses, and that Appetite for Destruction is one of the top-selling records of all time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so wow, I remember seeing that, and I was like, well, good for Rick.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You know, good for Rick. You know that, and I saw a music video of you guys.
Yeah, we did a few videos, and Izzy was branching out from the GNR thing by doing some reggae stuff.
Right.
We had Mikey Dread in there during the sessions, and we cut some of the reggae stuff. Never made it to the records, but boy, it was fun to do, man. It was really good stuff.
He's got a track. I don't know if you played on this track, but he's got a track called Concrete. I
played on that.
Did you play? That is a kick-ass song, man. I got that on my iPod and listen to it quite often.
Right on, man.
Now, so then after that dies down, you reform the Satellites, right, and get out there and start working.
Me and Price, and
you've had a whole lot of people play with you guys, right? I know.
Veritable turnstile.
I saw one video where Jeremy from Riggs was playing
Jeremy
with
was
you
with
guys.
us, and Billy Pitts was on
Billy
the drums.
Pitts.
Yeah, and Joey Huffman on
Okay.
keyboards.
Yeah, and now Bruce Smith.
Bruce is in there, and Fred McNeil with Todd Johnson on drums.
Okay, all right. And you guys still draw crowds around, and people like to come see you, and I know it's a good time.
Yeah,
that's one thing I can say about the Satellites. I mean, it's always a good time to go see you guys.
Thanks. There's still people out there who like to rock. So fortunately, we've carved out a niche,
Okay,
so it's a good deal.
Now that sound that you get, Rick, and I asked you the other day that when you and Dan got together, did you? Because I got to tell you, in the Famous Unknowns, I think Brendan was playing a Fender in that band, but the sound you two got was not like the sound that you and Dan got.
Yeah, right.
You know, and
Brendan was a little more versatile. He could go
right.
either way.
And and you told me that it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah, I think we were both so obstinate about our personal sound,
Right.
that nobody was going to give an inch,
Okay.
And that in itself, along with other anti-things,
Sure.
make a band.
I got you, absolutely.
The yin-yang factor,
Right,
You have
okay.
one guy's this way, one guy's that way. Never the twain shall meet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard-headedness was part of our sound. I think.
And it worked. Now, you were telling me that the Les Paul Jr. and the Marshall sound, that you were influenced by a show you saw at Richards when you were a young man. Is that right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
It was, of all people, it was Lou Reed during the Rock and Roll Animal era, which he had Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner, who went on to play with Alice Cooper and various other bands. They actually, Steve Hunter played some of the lead breaks on Get Your Wings, the Aerosmith.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
great,
like
great.
The Train Kept Rolling, Same Old Song and Dance. Those lead breaks are Steve Hunter, which now Joe Perry has copped to, so it's not letting anything out of the basket. So.
Okay.
But yeah, both of them played juniors through Marshalls, unassisted except for some flanging going on, just straight in. And man, I said, what a great sound, you know. Okay. So that's why I copped that idea, and it just kind of stuck, you know.
Well, it is. I mean, I noticed in the Izzy Stradlin video, you weren't playing a Les Paul Jr., and it almost kind of looked strange what I was seeing.
Well, that's the other part of the equation is the Dan Armstrong, the clear guitar on the slide.
Yes.
Slide
Okay.
aspect.
All right.
But of course, when the slide's on, but it looked good, so I used it. So.
Now you've Rick made a lot of friends in the music business, a lot of big names. I know that you were pretty good friends with Joey Ramone, weren't you? Were you not?
Yeah, we hung together a couple of times.
Steve Marriott?
Yeah, Steve.
And the late Ian McLagan was a good buddy of yours?
Ian, yeah, we hung. Ian played on some of our records. That was a real stellar moment for me I'm the biggest Faces fan in the world.
That would be an easy guess. The way you play, yeah.
So meeting Mac and having him play on the record and play with us live at our first big Los Angeles gig at the amphitheater there. Mm-hmm. He brings his keyboard and sets in with us. It's like, pinch me, right? It's one of those moments.
That's right.
You're playing with your idols. It doesn't get any better than that.
So did you ever think, Rick, excuse me. I apologize so much.
It's getting cold.
That's about as bad. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that. Did you ever think when Dan played Keep Your Hands to Yourself for you the first time, that song would change your life as much as it did?
Oh, hell no.
That 3 minute, and it's a 3-chord tune, right?
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes
I'll throw in another chord.
Sometimes you throw in another.
When I'm feeling like jazz.
But I'm guessing that this is one of these songs that you really didn't have to tweak a whole lot. You just kind of played it, and it kind of came together real quick and real fast.
The version that made the radio was the demo we cut at Axis, So yeah, it was with Randy DeLay on drums and Dave Hewitt on bass.
Okay.
So it's that version.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was an afterthought to put that song on the first record. So when it did hit, it was like, no accounting for taste, right?
That's right. Oh, it was great. And I've got I meant to bring it tonight. I've still got that People magazine that you guys were in.
Yeah.
I've got the People magazine, and it says on there, after a shaky liftoff, the satellites are now in orbit. Or
shaky.
Or something like that. And in the article, you're saying that when the song comes on, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I think you made a Bullwinkle reference or something, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. But, God, I called Rick Richards Dan on TV. I can't believe it. All right. So,
doesn't sound right.
So, you got that picture over there, not the video, but the picture. Can we show the picture? Let's show this picture right here. And this is Rick Richards, and this is going to be a spread in Vintage Guitar Magazine. They did an article on you. And when will this be in the stores where we can get it?
A couple of months, I think. Yeah. Which is great because I don't know anything about guitars, nothing. I just play them, man. I don't know anything about them. So when they ask me all this technical stuff, I just, plead ignorance, man. I mean, guitars are made to be used,
Right.
So that's what I do with it.
Well, it's worked for you so far.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would say there's guys out there that may know a lot more about you than guitars, but they probably hadn't got as much mileage out of it as you've got,
Thanks,
my friend.
brother.
You've got, my friend.
Appreciate that.
Now, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and the Georgia Satellites are going to go into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, I would think sooner than later. And they're just now getting around to people from the scene in the early 80s, getting Danny Beard got in, Driving and Crying got in this past year, and it's not going to be long. In fact, I would think you guys would be at the top of the ballot next year, I would guess. When you guys are put in, will we see a satellite reunion at the award ceremony?
I don't know.
Now, see, I had like 20 people tell me, say, you got to ask him that, you got to ask him that. We want to know, will we see you and Dan and the rest of the band up there performing? Is that a possibility?
Let me tell
don't you feel like John Lennon, when I'm at?
Yeah, dead.
Well, when everybody's asking here if the Beatles are getting back together,
Well, I don't think so. I don't know. It's like getting this band in the same room, the original members in the same room would be like herding cats. So,
well, I know it's got to work out where that people aren't on tour and all that type of thing.
It's going to take more than that, Chris. It's going to take a lot more than that, baby.
Okay. Well, we'll keep.
I'm thinking some sort of financial enticement, but I know that's not in the cards. So, man, I don't know. If it happens, it happens. I'll be more than happy.
Well, you guys are getting in. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, look, I saw it. Daryl Rhodes had on Facebook his list of people that should be in the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, and he was number 1, and you were not. You guys were number 2.
Daryl should. If we win, I'm going to get Daryl to go do the acceptance speech, like Marlon Brando at the Oscars.
Well, Daryl would probably do it for you. He probably would. So, these days, the satellites are playing all over the country. Do you guys make the trip across the pond anymore? Or?
I do with the Sizzlers. We've been over.
Okay.
My new Incarnation band, side project. Satellites, yeah, occasionally. Spain and England occasionally, but it's so hard to put an itinerary together for over there because financially it's just really hard. So,
right.
But we're planning on going back anytime,
Okay. Any Atlanta dates coming up where
we're
I can get you?
Saturday at the something amphitheater in Alpharetta.
Oh, really? Okay. Are you guys playing with somebody or are y'all headlining?
ARS.
ARS.
The Atlanta Rhythm Section.
And the Satellites.
And the Satellites
wow.
at the Eat It Up Atlanta. Taste of Atlanta. Eat while you can Atlanta. Get it while it's hot. Whatever it's called.
Gotcha. You can find it online, I'm sure. Okay. Well, Rick, thanks again for being here, taking the time out of your busy schedule. Rick Richards, everybody. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Chris Massey Music Show. And by the way, I'm Johnny Manzo and Leonard Skinner.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Massey from the Chris Massey Show. You know, one of my favorite places to hang out, eat, and play music is the Moonshadow Tavern in Tucker, Georgia. Moonshadow Tavern, they got great food, great drink, and great live music 5 nights a week. Right now at the Moonshadow Saloon, you can go and get 5 appetizers for $5, $5 each. That's right, 5 appetizers for $25. So just go down there and get them. Hell, those appetizers, man, that's a whole meal in itself. Hey, I'm Leon Smoker.
And I'm Rachel Jordan.
And I'm Moses Moe from Mother's Finest.
And you're watching the Chris Massey Music Show. Hey, man, you remember that time when you guys opened for Aerosmith?
I do.
man, that was awesome. We're back. Okay, for being a guest on the Chris Massey Music Show, my guest, Rick Richards, will receive a 6-month supply of Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat, and a case of turtle wax. Just see Ray, the security guard, down in the lobby, and he will get you your door prizes. We will be back in November. Al, you're on the road in Europe with the SOS band. Y'all going to do some shows with Patti LaBelle over there, is that right?
LaBelle, the Whispers,
okay.
Jocelyn Brown, this is a bunch of...
So we're not going to be back on till the end of the month. I think you're going to be back around the 20th. Is that right?
Yeah. 19th,
okay.
Yeah.
So we will be seeing you then. Do not know who the guest will be, but we'll have somebody good, that's for sure. And like I always say, always love your woman. Take life as it comes. And when you get the chance, have too much fun. We'll see you next time.